The girls have been waiting, and finally, after an entire year, we have a season 2 of P-Valley. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe. And if you are returning Fiercely V, welcome back. So happy to have you. The girls have been waiting, and finally, after an entire year, we have a season 2 of P-Valley. Now, when I say the girls have been waiting, I definitely mean myself too, because I have been waiting. I jumped on P-Wagon. I got put on P-Valley season 1 a little bit late, but I literally watched the whole season in a day, loved it, wanted more. So we finally got more. Definitely seems like there's going to be a lot going on this season. I am fully intrigued from that first episode, and we're going to talk about it. So while you're here, make sure that if you feel compelled to, that you give Fiercely V a like, and also that you subscribe to the tribe so that you can check out the other content. Let's go ahead and get into P-Valley season 2 episode 1, titled Land. We love it. So our first episode is titled Land, and the reason it's titled that is because we're starting the episode in the pandemic, and they basically have created this drive-through car wash stripper experience, and that's what they're calling it. I do remember in the actual pandemic reading about how like strip clubs were getting creative, and they were having like drive-through where people could drive through and see strippers stripping and all that stuff. So it looks like they kind of took that idea directly from like what was happening in real life during the pandemic with strippers needed a way to make some money. So that's what they did. It is so interesting to me the lengths that men will go through to see some ass shaking. So anyway, we start the first scene. There's a dude who's at like a child birthday party. Clearly he is tired of being at home with these loud ass kids and his girl or whatever. So he gets in his car, he decides to take a ride. He ends up at the Pank, and they're doing this drive-through car wash situation. They have all these girls like washing cars and shaking ass, and it's a whole thing. And at the end, Mercedes is doing a little performance and all this good stuff. It was a very intense opening scene. Like for the scene that to be the very first scene intro to the season, I was like, oh, so y'all just wildin'. Okay, I see. And so basically, you know, Mercedes is like the final performance in this whole car wash situation, whatever. At the end, when it's all said and done, all of the girls at the Pink are just kind of sitting around, they're talking. We see that Haley has taken on a ownership role of the club because, of course, at the end of season 1, she ended up buying the club so that it wouldn't get sold at auction. And so she is now pretty much the main owner, and Uncle Clifford is her co-owner. And so she's talking to the girls. They've come up with some sort of system where, you know, with the car wash situation, they basically just take all the money and they split it evenly amongst the girls. Mercedes ain't too happy about that because she like, I'm doing all the work. It's my milkshake that brings all the boys to the yard, so I should be making more. But it's not up to her. Ultimately, it's up to Haley, and both Haley and Uncle Clifford agree that, like, look, this is what we need to do to make sure that everybody still has some money during the pandemic, even though we can't actually, like, have the club be open. This is, like, the best we can do. So Mercedes is a little salty about that, you know. My sis Mercedes is just, you know, she's not a team player. You know, she's really just out for self. They have the TV on, and a music video ends up coming on. It's Lil Murder's music video for his song Mississippi Pride. And Keyshawn, also known as M.I. Curricular I Humpback Child. You know her name. She's in the music video. So the girls are like, oh my God, look at Keyshawn and Lil Murder, Mercedes instantly gets mad. Clearly she feels a way about Keyshawn. She makes a comment about, you know, I don't want to see her, you know, turn that off. She abandoned us, something along those lines. The other girls are just kind of like, you know, they're grooving to the song or whatever. And Uncle Clifford's like, no, turn that ish off. I don't want to remember nothing about murder night and I don't ever want a situation like that to happen again. Of course, murder night was that, finale night in season 1 where shit just went haywire. And so it's very clear that Mercedes feels a way about Keyshawn. She don't want nothing to do with her. She feels like Keyshawn abandoned them, turned against the family, all that good stuff. And everybody else, as far as Uncle Clifford and them, just seem like they're just traumatized from everything that transpired that night. So they don't want no part. So we go into the office of the Pink, where Haley is talking to the guy that used to be in the thing counting money during while they were performing and stuff. I cannot remember that man's name, but I'll put him on the screen. But anyway, Haley's talking to him. They're talking about how the Pink has been denied PPP funds. Child, they was trying to get that PPP money, but they didn't get it because the club is not considered an essential service. And so Haley is kind of going back and forth with Uncle Clifford about the money. When she bought the Pink, she bought it for $250K, and they only needed $55K of that to pay back like the loans that he had gotten and stuff that he needed to pay back that he was behind on. So she's like, where's the rest of the money? Apparently they only have $25K left. Child, ain't no telling. Uncle Clifford from season 1, him and his auntie didn't seem like they had very like good financial practices, so it was really no telling. But whatever the case, they are down to $25K. That's all they have left, and they're in the middle of shutdown. So they're like, what are we going to do? That's not going to be enough to continue to keep us afloat for very much longer. But while they're in there having this conversation, they also mention how Haley is the majority owner of the Pink now, and once she bought it back, she gave Uncle Clifford 15% ownership so that he could, still have some ownership, but she is the majority owner of the Pink now. And you could tell there's going to be kind of like a push-pull between the two of them, with Uncle Clifford still feeling like, this is my club, you just got here, and Haley feeling like, but I own it because I paid for it type of vibes. So you can kind of see that push-pull dynamic from there. There's a conversation about the Paradise Room where when they're talking about like, where's all the money? And Uncle Clifford is like, well, the Paradise Room had to be completely redone because of course that's where all the stuff went down, where they killed the dude and all that stuff. And then they also mention, when they mention 15% ownership, the dude that counts the money is like, oh, is that the going rate for getting rid of bodies now? And so they're kind of alluding to what happened apparently, like after everything that happened on murder night at the end of season 1. Basically, I guess Uncle Clifford was the one that kind of like cleaned up the mess, helped them get rid of the bodies, all this good stuff. So it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess, but it seems like maybe Haley is kind of like just trying to assert herself as the new owner, but Uncle Clifford is not really wanting to let go. And that's going to be like a push-pull power dynamic throughout the season, it seems. But also just this idea of Haley feeling like, okay, you owe me because I paid the $250 to get your club back. But also Uncle Clifford feeling like, okay, but you owe me because I like whole ass saved your life and got rid of bodies for you. So it's gonna be interesting to see that play out. While they're in there having this whole little back and forth, they hear the girls outside screaming in excitement. They go out there and they find out that they're saying on the news that the shutdowns are about to end, which means that they're gonna be able to open the Pink next week. So everybody's excited about that. And then at the same time, they end up hearing on the news that Mayor Ruffin has ended up passing away from COVID. So we pan over to Georgia, which is where Andre and his wife live. His wife is coming home from work. She's a nurse, and she looks really tired. She looks really worn out. She stops off in the garage where it looks like she's kind of set up like a little living situation for herself down there. She showers, she cleans herself, takes off all her PPE, cleans everything up. And during COVID, when we were really in the thick of it, a lot of nurses were they were scared that they were gonna like give their families, the virus or whatever. So a lot of them were like either staying at hotels or like in this situation where we see her kind of having like a whole little living setup in the garage. And a lot of nurses were doing that so they didn't have to like be in close proximity to their family and risk giving them the virus. And so it seems like that's what's going on here. She has like a whole little living situation set up in the garage. She showers down there. She checks the refrigerator. She doesn't see what she's looking for, so she decides to go ahead and go upstairs. And Andre is in there. He looked rough as hell, beard fully grown out. He's sitting in the living room playing video games and stuff. And, you know, she goes in the refrigerator to get something, and she's just kind of looking at him like, you know, I thought you were going to put my almond milk down in the refrigerator in the garage so I don't have to come up in here. I don't want to risk getting you sick, whatever. And she's asking him what has he been doing all day. It's very clear that he ain't working. He ain't doing nothing. He just been sitting around playing video games and not shaving. And so, you know, he asked her how her day went and stuff. And she's just like, you know, it's fine. But sis looked tired and stressed. And so they're having a little back and forth, and she's just like, you know, I mean, what have you been doing all day? I tried to call you, you didn't answer. I tried to text you, such and such tried to call you. And, you know, it's very clear that he's probably just been like sitting at home letting himself rot away after being, you know, laid off or whatever during the pandemic, which, I mean, a lot of people was living that way. So anyway, they're going back and forth. They're having this conversation. And he ends up getting a phone call, and it's someone letting him know that his uncle has passed away. And he's on the phone. He's talking about coming out to Mississippi to go to the funeral, and his wife immediately gets super upset. She's like, no, you can't go. And she starts crying, and she's like, you know, I lost 7 patients today, and, you know, the reason I said that work was okay was because I lost even more yesterday, and this is so dangerous, and you can't be traveling out of town and going to a funeral. And you could just tell that she's just very traumatized based off of what she has seen at work. And, you know, a lot of nurses during this time were really going through it. I mean, they were just seeing like death upon death upon death. And so it seems like she's just very traumatized from just seeing this like disease, from seeing this virus just like ravage people and take people's lives. And now her husband's talking about going to a crowded funeral, and she's just like, it sends her over the edge. So she is not happy about it. And he's basically just like, look, you know, this man was like a father to me. I have to pay my respects. And they come to an agreement that he's like, look, I won't go to the actual funeral, but I do want to go down there and pay my respects to him. So they decide that, you know, he's just going to go to the wake, and he's just going to try to get there early before everybody else shows up, but he won't go to the actual funeral. And so that's kind of what they decide. During their conversation, she does look at his phone, and she's like, you got a missed call from this person and a text from Haley, and she starts to read the text from Haley, and it's like, my condolences or something, but then he snatches the phone from her. So it does seem like him and Haley have been, at least, like, even if they haven't been keeping up, they at the very least like have access to contact each other. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so basically they decide that he's gonna go down. He's not gonna hit the funeral, but he is gonna, you know, pay his respects at the wake. So we see a little clip from Mercedes' mom, Miss Patrice, and she have her church now that she didn't use her stolen money from her daughter to get her church, honey. So godly of her. And, you know, she's having like drive-through services or whatever. She's given her congregation, you know, CDs with her doing the sermon or whatever. They're driving up, and, you know, she got her little church, and she's doing her little thing. At the very beginning of the show, there was like a billboard about her new church or whatever. So, you know, we'll see how her little crooked ass is doing as the season progresses. So Lil Murda and DJ Never Scared are chilling. They're working on a new song. Lil Murda really wants to capitalize on the popularity of the Mississippi Pride song and the music video that's getting a whole bunch of views and stuff. And he's like, we need to get this next song out and capitalize on the popularity that I have right now. And so they're just talking about that. Lil Murda sits down, and he's like scrolling through his text messages, and he's scrolling through text messages between him and Uncle Clifford. I guess they ain't on good terms. They ain't really seen each other since murder night, and they just haven't really been communicating like that, or they really ain't on good terms like that. And so he ends up mentioning to DJ Never Scared, like, you know, oh yeah, you know, the Pink is gonna be opening back next week or whatever. And DJ Never Scared is like, oh no, I didn't know. Have you talked to Uncle Clifford? And immediately Lil Murda gets super defensive. No, why would I talk to him? Why would I be talking to him? So, he's on the down low. He can't let nobody know what's really going on. So he gets super defensive. But DJ Neverscare just like, no, I'm just wondering if they might want you to come back and like pack the house out again after, Murder Night was such success. So you could just kind of tell that Lil Murda, like, clearly he misses Uncle Clifford. He's thinking about Uncle Clifford, and now that he knows the Pink is going to open, I'm sure he's going to find his way down there. But they're having this conversation. Lil Murda ends up going outside to get something from his dealer, and a car drives by and they're playing his song Mississippi Pride, and they're like, yeah, you need to put out some new heat for us, da da da. And as the car is like leaving, they zoom into the back seat, and there's somebody in the back seat of the car that's looking like real sketch back there, and him and Lil Murda kind of like make eye contact low key. So I couldn't tell if clearly the dude was like, it's some beef there. Clearly it's some beef. I couldn't tell if it was just a dude that was just like being a hell of a hater, or if there's like, this is somebody that they know and there's actual bad blood there. And maybe this is somebody that I should know who it is and I just completely miss it. Y'all let me know. But I didn't recognize the dude, but it looked like Lil Murda did, and it looked like it was clearly like some beef there. So we'll see how that goes as the show progresses. So apparently Mercedes and Haley have moved in together. They're frenemies or whatever. And so Haley wakes up in the morning and she hear Mercedes in her room sounding like she getting her back blown in. Child, turns out she just in there with the rose toy. Let me find out Mercedes is in there with the rose toy, okay? But anyway, they have a conversation. Haley brings up the fact that, she's worried about Mercedes because apparently Mercedes has an arm injury during that whole tussle in season 1 in the Murder Night situation, and plus Mercedes tussling with her mama at the end of season 1. It seems like she's injured her arm, and Haley is a little bit worried about it, and she's like, look, with us being about to open back up, your arm is injured. We don't have Keyshawn no more because she's a video vixen social media influencer now. And the white girl Gidget has moved back home because I guess her mom passed away. So she's just like, look, we need new people. We need new blood. You can't do everything. You can't, have the whole club on your shoulder. And so she's like, I want to hold auditions for new girls. Mercedes is not happy about this because she's like, that's just more people to split money with. Of course, like I said earlier, Mercedes is all about herself, her coin. And she don't want to share. She don't want to split. So in her mind, she's like, more girls equals more people to split the money with. Less girls equals all the money comes to me. That's all she's concerned about. So she's not happy that Haley is wanting to audition new girls, and she kind of gets upset about that or whatever. But at the end of the day, Haley is the owner, so it's going to be up to her regardless. During this back and forth that they're having, when Haley mentions Keyshawn, Mercedes gets super mad about it again, just like she did earlier. And she's basically just like, I can't fool with her. Like, she turned her back on the family. She shot at Diamond. Like, I can't fool with her. And Haley is basically just like, you just, until you're in that situation where you have to like make that split life or death decision, you just never know what you're going to do or whatever. And I guess Haley has, some sort of empathy towards Keyshawn's situation because, she too had to shoot her ex. Either way, it basically sets it up that Haley is empathetic to what happened with Keyshawn because she understands being in that like controlling relationship situation and feeling like you don't really have another way out. And Mercedes, she's not empathetic. So I feel like they're kind of setting it up to where Keyshawn is maybe going to come back to the Pink, and Mercedes is not going to want her to, but Haley is going to be cool with it. I feel like that's kind of what they're setting it up for, but child, we'll see. So we pan over to Keyshawn's house. This is a whole influencer. She got her little ring light set up in the corner, and she got her pole set up in her room, and she's on a live stream. Her husband is in the other room, and he's like watching the live stream on his phone while she's live streaming. And so when she comes out the room, she's like, yeah, we have 400,000 people watching today. And apparently she's been working with a dude named Rome, who's kind of like getting her like, he's her social media like brand manager, I guess. He's getting her brand deals and all that good stuff. And I feel like Rome is the guy from season 1 who was like meeting with Lil Murda and was gonna be managing him, but he became so like infatuated with Keyshawn. I feel like I can't remember that guy's name, but I think that's who Rome is. But I guess we'll see eventually. But I think that's who it is. But he's the social media manager for Keyshawn now, basically. Keyshawn's boyfriend is, feeling a way about how, he has her doing so many lives and so many things. And Keyshawn is just like, look, he's doing what he needs to do. Yes, he has me doing a lot of lives, but he also is getting me brand deals and, working on other stuff for me. So like, it is what it is. And she's basically like, look, it doesn't have to be like this forever. Eventually, the world will open back up and I can be back, in front of a live crowd, and it won't have to be like this. And her man is like, no, all you need is this room. So it's very clear that he loves the fact that she's just at home in a room and not at a club around other people. And you can kind of see the dynamic of like, Keyshawn seems like she wants to be back in front of a live audience again, whereas her boyfriend, as controlling and abusive as he is perfectly fine with being able to keep an eye on her 100% of the time at all times, and her literally not having to leave the house at all. So that's clearly gonna be a push-pull situation as the season progresses. So then we see Mercedes. She's on a Zoom session with her little dance team, the Chuckalisa Challengers, and she's excited that lockdowns are gonna end so that they'll be able to like meet in person again and like get started with their stuff again, their competition stuff or whatever. And the girls are just kind of letting her know that like a lot of their moms are like, I don't know if I'm gonna let you participate. Some of them, it was like they can't afford it. Some of them was just like, I'm not comfortable letting you participate in person again with everything going on. So it seems like it's kind of a precarious situation for her dance team, and she might not be able to like really like get together with the girls and do what she needs to do with them, even though lockdowns are ending. So that sucks. We see a clip of Uncle Clifford and them really revamping the Paradise Room and putting some new poles up and just kind of redecorating it so they could be prepared for the Pinks to reopen. And while they're in there, they see that there's like some blood splatter on the wall from everything that happened with Murder Night. And Uncle Clifford's like, child, I thought we washed that off with bleach and stuff. And Haley is in there and she's like, yeah, blood always bleeds through, just paint the whole thing red. And I'm like, girl, why do you know this? But child, so I guess they're gonna paint the Paradise Room red to hide all the blood splatter from everything that happened. So child, it's a mess. But we go from there over to Lil Murda. He goes to see his homeboy. I cannot remember his name, but he's the close friend from season 1 who was really just looking out for him, knew about him and Uncle Clifford and all that good stuff. So apparently this friend works at the funeral home, and he's like, they've been hella busy because COVID been tearing everybody up. And Lil Murda's just talking to him and saying like, we need to capitalize on this popularity. And he suggests going on tour. And his friend is like, you want to go on tour during a whole panoramic? Like, why do you want to go on tour right now? Like, it's not a good time. And Lil Murda is just adamant about it. He's like, I need to capitalize on the popularity that I have right now. And so his friend is basically letting him know, Lil Murda mentions like, did you see how many views the video got? And his friend is like, yeah. Do you think those videos were mainly for you or because of Keyshawn? And so he's pretty much like bursting his bubble, like, you may want to go on this tour and you maybe want to capitalize on this success, but you're gonna have to take Keyshawn with you because that's who people want to see. Like, she been online getting 400,000 people in her live chats and stuff. Like, if you want to go on tour and you want it to be successful, you gonna need to have her. And he mentions, he's like, Rome, who's the one that's been managing Keyshawn, he's like, Rome said her man won't even let her leave the house. So I don't even know how you gonna get her to go on this tour and when her man don't even let her leave the house. And so Lil Murda ends up calling Keyshawn. While they're on the phone, we learn that Keyshawn never got paid from the music video that she did with him. So they have a little back and forth about that. And then he basically tells her, I want to go on tour and I want you to come with. And she's basically just like, first of all, it's a whole panoramic why do you think it's cool to go on tour right now? And he kind of like, you know, tries to talk her into it, like, don't you miss hearing the sound of the crowd, you know, screaming for you and cheering for you and all this good stuff. And you could tell that Keyshawn definitely does miss that, because even before, when she was talking to her boyfriend, she was like, you know, pretty soon I'll be in front of a live crowd again. So it's very clear that she wants that too, but she knows that her man's not gonna let her go. He don't even want her to leave the house or leave that room where she records. So she's just like, nah, I'm gonna have to turn it down. I'm gonna have to pass. Like, it ain't gonna work. But then once she gets off the phone with Lil Murda, she's changing her baby's diaper, and she goes to the little diaper genie thing, and she takes like almost all the diapers out of the little diaper thing and puts them in the trash. And they don't really explain why until later. So Andre is at the wake. He gets there early, like he said, before everyone else has arrived, and he's paying respects to his uncle, Mayor Ruffin. And Mayor Ruffin's old assistant comes in. They're chit-chatting. Basically, Andre ends up getting talked into being a pallbearer at this man's funeral, even though his wife told him not even to go. But you could tell that he feels torn about it, because again, you know, even though him and his uncle had a little bit of bad blood towards the end of season 1, like his uncle was a father figure to him. So you could tell that he's torn about wanting to help, you know, and be a pallbearer at the funeral, even though his wife said he can't even go to the funeral. And he told her that he wouldn't. So he ends up going outside for a smoke, and Haley rolls up on him. They have a little back and forth. He tells her, you know, I thought by the time I seen you the next time I would slap you or whatever, because, you know, she snatched the pink from up under him while he was working with the company he worked for, trying to get it off auction for the casino situation, and she came out of nowhere and dropped 250 stack. And so, you know, that messed things up for him. So he's like, I thought next time I saw you I would want to slap you, whatever. And so they're having a little back and forth or whatever. Haley is telling him how, you know, I guess COVID had ran through the pink, everybody got it or whatever, and, you know, he's confiding in her about, you know, how he feels about his uncle passing away, and how he can't even like help put him in the ground because, you know, everything that's going on, and his wife doesn't want him to go and stuff. And Haley is just, you know, talking to him about grief, and she's like, you know, I wish I could tell you it gets better, but it doesn't. Of course, we know from season 1 that she lost her daughter in a hurricane. And so they have this little moment or whatever, and it just shows he's clearly very torn about feeling like he's not going to be able to help put his uncle into the ground. And, you know, because Haley has had to go through, you know, the death of someone so close to her own child, they have some commonality there. So, child, it is Mayor Ruffin's funeral. These folks is out here in lime green and yellow tones, looking like Beyonce from the Oscars. Got all my family by my side. And it is just extra and ghetto, and exactly what you would expect in Chucalissa, Mississippi. So not only does Andre end up being a pallbearer at the funeral that he wasn't even supposed to go to, but he ends up like being the speaker at the funeral, and the whole thing is televised. So I'm sure his wife is going to end up seeing this, but nonetheless, he ends up doing this whole speech at the funeral, you know, in remembrance of his uncle. As this ceremony is being televised, Uncle Clifford and Auntie Ernestine are watching it. Auntie Ernestine is like, oh, you know, one of Mayor Ruffin's baby mamas, you know, she be cooking good chitlins. I want some. And so she basically sends Uncle Clifford to the repast to get her some chitlins. So we get to the scene and see why Keyshawn hid the Pampers in the trash. It's so that her boyfriend Derek would think they were out, and so that she could talk him into letting her go to the store, because apparently he's not even letting her leave the house. And so, you know, he's like, oh dang, I thought we had Pampers, I could have sworn we had some. And she's like, oh nope, guess we're out, I guess I'll have to go to the store. And he's like, oh no, I'll go. And she's like, no, I want to go, you know, because I need to get some tampons too. And he's like, what, it's not the 4th yet. And I'm like, this dude is that controlling that he literally knows when her period is coming to the day. Like, Child, but he's like, it ain't the fourth yet. And she's like, yeah, but it will be. And, she talks him into it. And so he lets her go to the store. And so Keyshawn is out and about. She's going to the store. She's FaceTiming Gidget, who is back home, due to her mother's passing. And Gidget is just like, it's a lot of money to be made out here. You should leave there and come out here, or something along those lines. And Keyshawn is basically like, it's good here. Me and Derek have actually been doing really good. He told me he wanted to watch the kids so I could get out and have some time to myself. And I'm just like, girl, now you just told a bald face ass lie, because you had the hot Pampers in the trash can just to get out of the house to go to the store to get Pampers. But she's lying to Gidget, making it seem like everything's okay, whatever. Gidget on the other end of the phone clearly don't believe her anyway. But she gets to the store, and guess who the security guard is? It's Diamond. And so she hangs up with Gidget, and she goes up to Diamond, and she's trying to talk to him. He's being very cold to her, and he's like, you can't go in here because you don't have a mask. And she's like, what? I just need to get such and such. And she's like, I'm trying to apologize to you. And she's like trying to talk to him, trying to apologize for shooting at him in season 1. It's like, girl, you put a gun at this man. But anyway, she's, trying to apologize and trying to explain. She's like, I was just trying to, I just wanted things to be over. And, what if you would have killed Derek that night and all this stuff. And she's trying to apologize and explain herself. And he's just like, I'm not trying to hear that. Like, go on. You can't come in. You don't have a mask. I'm not trying to hear none of that. And he's tells her, he's like, your Derek, he called me a N-word, something, a dirty N-word or something like that. And she's like, he would never say that. And Diamond is like, why you think I was trying to kill him? Like, he did say that. And so, clearly she's in denial about her baby daddy or whatever. Diamond is not trying to hear it. She even tries to give him back the necklace that he had gave her, the pendant he had gave her. And he's like, I don't want that back. Like, he just sends her on her way. And, she walks away looking all sad and hurt and whatever. And I'm just like, girl, this man was literally trying to save your life from your abusive ass baby daddy, and you turned the gun on him, and you thought shit was just gonna be sweet between y'all. So, I feel bad for Keyshawn, because clearly, like, she's a battered woman, she's in a bad situation, and usually when women are in those situations with very abusive men, like, it's a lot harder than just walk away from them. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on there. So on that hand, I do feel bad for her, but it's just like, you still can't just expect Diamond to just forgive you when you pointed a gun at this man as he was trying to save you. Like, yeah, you're dealing with, stuff, being a battered, abused woman, but also shit don't have to be sweet with y'all after you pointed a gun at this man. So listen, I understand where both of them are coming from, but I'm not mad at Diamond for sending her ass on her merry way, because it's like, I'm not gonna try to like get involved with you and try to save your ass again for you to choose him again. So it's like, at some point you can want to help people in those types of situations, but you have to realize that it's never going to work unless they themselves are ready to like fully walk away. And it seems like Diamond realizes that, like, girl, you chose him and pointed a gun at me, so I'm out. Like, y'all figure that out on y'all's own. And I ain't mad at him. So Andre is at the repast with all of his, uncles, kids. Mayor Ruffin got like 8-9 kids. And so he's at the repast. They're all standing around at Mayor Ruffin's old house, chit-chatting or whatever. And Uncle Clifford pulls up looking fierce, per usual, okay? He's there to get the chitlins for Grandma Ernestine. And, he ends up having a back and forth with Andre, and he's basically like, we're opening back up or whatever. So what's happening with the casino? Like, are they still going to be trying to take my club from me or whatever? And, he's mentioning that, him and Haley are co-owners now. And he's just trying to see, like, what's the tea? Like, what's going to be going on with the casino stuff now that Chuckalise is going to be open again. And so Andre is like, look, I don't know. I got laid off during the pandemic. I don't know what they're going to do, but it don't have nothing to do with me. And so while they're standing there having this back and forth conversation, scene, the interim mayor who has taken over from Mayor Ruffin comes up, and it is one of the Kyle brothers, who were literally in season 1 trying to get rid of their biracial brother that they didn't, want people to know about or whatever. And so he's the interim mayor now, and he rolls up on them, and he's like, he just wanted to give his respects or whatever. And he's talking to Andre and Uncle Clifford, and he's like, I'm gonna be, in honor of Mayor Ruffin's wishes, I'm gonna continue trying to bring the casino to Chucalissa, because that's what Mayor Ruffin wanted. I want to honor his wishes. And he's just talking about how he's the interim mayor right now, but nobody else is running against him. So he's like, unless I beat myself, I can consider this one or whatever. And so I feel like they mentioned that nobody's running against him as kind of a setup, that somebody is actually going to run against him. And I'm not sure who it's going to be. I feel like it could either be Andre, which I don't know if it could be Andre though, because Andre doesn't live in Chucalissa, and that might be a requirement, but I don't know. But it also could be the biracial brother that they was trying to get rid of. So I feel like that's how they're setting it up. I feel like somebody is going to end up running against him. I just don't know who it is yet, but we'll see. But either way, he's like, yeah, nobody's running against me, and I want to continue working on what Mayor Ruffin was working on, and what he was working on was trying to bring prosperity to Chucalissa with the casino. And so he's basically like, that's still the plan. Like, we're still gonna continue working on that. He tries to have like a casual little conversation with Andre after Uncle Clifford leaves, but Andre is not trying to fool with him. He's like, look, I seen how you and your brother get down, and I don't want no parts. So Wayne Kyle is trying to like clear the air with Andre, and Andre is like, nah. So we get a scene of Keyshawn going into her baby's room. The baby was crying, and she goes in there. She gets in the crib with her, and she lays there, and she's telling her this like cute little ghetto version of Rapunzel, which I just thought it was kind of cute though. But she's basically like, yeah, once upon a time there was this little girl, and she didn't have long enough hair. She was on punishment, and she wanted her hair to be longer, so her sister went to the beauty supply and got her some bundles, and they braided it into her hair, and then her hair fell down the tower, and she climbed down it. And I was like, what kind of ghetto version of Rapunzel is this? But it was cute, and it was metaphoric, because honestly, like, the metaphor is that clearly Keyshawn feels trapped, and wishes that it was as simple as Rapunzel, where you just put your hair down, climb down the tower, and get free from being trapped. And it's a metaphor for her being trapped in her relationship. So, it was a cute little metaphor, cute little story, But it's after the repass, and Andre is there helping clean up while everybody's leaving. They mention that he's going to be staying in Mayor Ruffin's house for the night before he heads back home to Georgia. And they make it a point to mention how, even though, most other people would have moved outside of Chucalissa, Mayor Ruffin, for whatever reason, wanted to live within the city, and it's a bad neighborhood and all this stuff. And they make it a point to mention how like nobody is living in this house now. I feel like that was a little bit of foreshadowing, because I feel like what's going to end up happening is Andre is not going to leave Chucalissa for whatever reason, and he's just going to stay in that house. So they made it a point to let us know that house is vacant and available. So once everybody leaves, Andre is just in the house. He hears somebody at the door, and it turns out that it is the biracial Kyle brother, and he ends up giving Andre some money to try and convince the new owner of the Pink, which we know is Haley, to sell, because they're going to be working on the casino project again. So we already seen Andre and Haley kind of having back in conversation with one another. So it seems like it's going to be another situation where he's going to be trying to like low-key coerce her into selling the Pink once again. So we'll see how he goes about that, if he's going to do it in like a shady, sneaky way, or if he's just going to be upfront about it. So we'll see how that goes. So Haley and Mercedes are at home, child. They're watching What's Love Got to Do with It, and Mercedes is online, and she ends up seeing on social media that Haley has gone ahead and posted about auditions for the Pink. So she gets really mad, and she's like, "I told you, like, I don't want new girls to have to share the money with and all this stuff," and Haley is basically just like, look, when I bought this place, I did not expect that a pandemic was about to happen. I'm just trying to keep everything afloat. Like, I'm trying to make sure that we're going to be able to actually make money. And she's like, I bought this place so that y'all ungrateful bitches can have a place to dance or whatever. And you can just kind of tell that Haley is very frustrated with the fact that, like, she feels like she did them a favor by buying the Pink. And she's frustrated that they won't even like respect her as a leader and respect her decisions, because even in the conversation about having the auditions, Mercedes was like, what does Uncle Clifford think? And Haley was like, Uncle Clifford is not in charge. Like, I am the owner, I am the majority owner. And so you could tell that there's this dynamic of like, Haley is frustrated because she wants people to respect her as the owner of the Pink after she dropped $250K to buy it, and it doesn't seem like people are like giving her the respect that she wants, and she feels like that's them being ungrateful for like what she has done for them. I don't like the fact that Haley is framing it as like, I helped y'all. Like, girl, you really helped yourself, because you wanted a place to belong and you wanted people around you. Like, Haley could have taken that $250K and just dipped. She could have went, started somewhere new, whatever. But clearly a part of her wanted to stay within this little family that she has formed at the Pink. So it's like her constantly framing it like, I did this for y'all. Look how much I helped y'all. It's like, you really did this for yourself too. It wasn't like some selfless act that you did for them. If that was the case, you would have just bought the Pink, gave it 100% to Uncle Clifford, and then left and ran off with the rest of your money. But you didn't do that. Like, you stayed because you wanted to be a part of this family, really, that you made yourself a part of. So it's like her constantly acting like she just did everybody a favor and everybody should have undying gratitude towards her is kind of getting on my nerves already. But you could just see that that's going to be a push-pull situation, and ultimately Mercedes is just looking out for herself. At the end of the day, Mercedes just wants all the money, all the attention, all the coin, all of everything. Because even in season 1, even just with Keyshawn becoming like super popular and being the main dancer on murder night and stuff, even that pissed Mercedes off. Like, and that wasn't even necessarily about money, because at that point in time she was like, I ain't dancing no more. So she wants all the attention, she wants all the money, she wants herself to be like the star, she wants to be the Beyonce of the Pink, and so it just it's not good. They're not gonna be eye to eye, because Mercedes is looking out for herself 100%, and Haley is trying to look out for the club because she owns it now. So we'll see how that goes, as the story progresses. I'm interested to see who these new girls are that are going to be auditioning, because I know that Miracle Watts, who is dating Tyler Lepley, who plays Diamond, I know that she's going to be on the show this season as one of the new dancers, so I'm excited to see that. But yeah, so we'll see how that all pans out with the new girls. I do feel like Keyshawn might come back to the Pink, but we'll see how that goes too. But basically, in the last scene, we see Lil Murda. He gets a call from Keyshawn, who says that she's down to do the tour. And Lil Murda is super excited about it, all this good stuff. Now, I'm like, Keyshawn, did you ask your man? Because I don't think he's going to be comfortable with you going on tour. So we're going to see how this pans out. We're going to see if this tour actually happens, and if Keyshawn's man is actually going to be comfortable with letting her go, or is she just going to run off or something. Child, we'll see. I am wondering what the main conflict of this season is going to be. It's clearly going to be Andre probably trying to finagle and talk Haley into selling the Pink to him, for sure, and maybe some beef between the Kyle brothers, between the biracial one and the one who's the mayor now. I really do think the biracial brother might end up running for mayor against his brother, but we'll see. Also, while Uncle Clifford was at the repast and they were talking about the casino stuff, once the interim mayor pulled up, he did mention that Mercedes' mom she still had that petition going to not have the casino be put in their city. And so I'm guessing that's going to be a main point of contention too. The fact that during the last season, they did get a whole bunch of signatures on the petition that was saying that like they didn't want a casino in the city. So I feel like that's going to be like one of the main things. And it would be good. It would be interesting if Mercedes' mama ended up running against the Kyle brother for mayor. That would be interesting. You know what? If that happens, I said it. I said it here if it happens. But that would be interesting. But we'll see how everything pans out. I'm really excited to see this dynamic between Haley and Andre now, because I guess he just don't give a fuck about his wife. Like, it is what it is. I'm also interested in seeing this dynamic that might develop between Keyshawn and Diamond. Is he gonna end up forgiving her? Are they gonna end up having a little thing? And also Lil Murda and Uncle Clifford, like what's it gonna be when the pink opens back up? So this was a really good first episode. I feel like they kind of set up a lot of stuff that could potentially happen, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know y'all's thoughts. Let me know if y'all have any predictions for how the season is gonna go, and I'm gonna try to be back here every week doing these reviews. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.